There is a specific number that pertains to human beings that I believe explains all the shit that's gone wrong in all society.
I assume we're talking about Dunbar's number,
We're talking about Dunbar's number. I am an evangelist for Dunbar's number. I think that this is a concept everybody should know because it explains so much about life.
This episode of The Modern Rogue brought to you by strawberry.me/rogue. All right, we all know that Thanksgivings have gotten weird, and I can't tell you that your Thanksgiving is going to make sense, but in general, that strangeness, that vibe, I think by the end of this conversation, you're going to see all of that differently. And it's thanks to the incredible Andrew Heaton. He's a smart, thinky, talky comedy person whose new book, Tribalism is Dumb, totally changed my world. It got me seeing the way humans interact in a fundamentally different way. Now, some of you guys are going to push back saying that our fixation on this number is just magical thinking. And to be clear, we ain't scientists. Maybe that's exactly what it is. But I do know that looking at human interactions through this lens changed me. So I guess your job is to judge this and figure out whether or not I'm crazy for thinking that this was an insightful conversation.
I don't think that Dunbar's number will prove to be wrong for two reasons. I think both in terms of inferential logic, the data is pretty strong there in terms of the world comports to Dunbar's number, in terms of how people react. We can infer based on group dynamics that it is a useful construct, and there is an underlying deductive reasoning that took place using empirical evidence in terms of developing it.
Okay.
So maybe it won't withstand it, but I think it's pretty resilient, actually.
For the uninitiated, what is Dunbar's number? How did you come across it?
Great. Okay, so Dunbar's number. There's a British sociologist. His name is Robin Dunbar. He's still around. He's at Cambridge University. And 20, 30 years ago, he took a spreadsheet and plotted on it 200 different primates. Chimps, gibbons, ring-tailed lemurs, just all 200 different primate groups.
This is when again?
About 20 years ago, maybe 30 years ago now.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Wait, turn of the century, year 2000-ish?
Around then, yes. So Dunbar has a spreadsheet, these 200 different primate groups. And what he does is you've got the names of the primates. He then looks at what is the normal maximum group size that this particular species has, because it's not random. Different groups have a different maximum group size before it becomes unstable. I could be wrong, but I believe a normal chimp troop's like maybe a maximum of 200, and after that, the group is likely to split or it's likely to run some people out. 200 seems to be their natural thing. I think that's the number, right? You go to like gorillas, smaller. Gorillas have harems, they don't have as much, maybe it's 70. Then you go down to lemurs, 20. You go to gibbons, 6. So he's now charted 200 of these. Then he comes up with an algorithm. Give me the brain pan size of the primate, and I can tell you what the maximum group size is of the primate.
I assume he didn't leap straight to that part. He probably had a whole bunch of data. Brain pan is the size of the brain, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Size of the brain, and then lining them all up, and he starts to notice, give or take, a correlation.
Yes. The bigger the brain pan, basically the smarter the primate, the larger the group, for lack of a better term.
And let's just assume all the numbers are wrong.
There might be some more intricacies to this that I'm aware of. Maybe it has to do with frontal cortex size as opposed to the overall brain size, but the basic concept is the smarter the chimp, the larger the brain, the larger the group. There is a correlation there, it's not random.
Right.
And having developed this algorithm, he puts in the average brain pan size for Homo sapiens, our species, and he comes up with 148. We're going to call it 150. 150 appears to be the natural human group size, which indicates that for the 3 million years that Homo has existed, Homo erectus, our immediate antecedents, Neanderthals, things like that. Think people that we would recognize from across the street as humans that are very evolutionarily similar to us. It seems that our species and our forerunners had a maximum group size of around 150. That for most of human history, 150 is as big as a group can get of human beings before it becomes unstable.
Before they splinter. Do we need to credit what article we both read? Because I assume at some point in the aughts we both read Jason Pargin's The Monkeysphere, right?
Yes, it's The Monkeysphere.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Kudos to him. By the way, he writes great books.
Oh, yeah,
He's
absolutely.
a really good writer.
Well, and plus on top of that, he also framed it in the context of, if I remember correctly, beyond 150, it's difficult to treat and think of people as real humans.
Right, well, see, and that's the implication of this, right? Is that, 150 is the maximum group size you can get before people need name tags.
Right.
After 150 and smaller, living in our commune, we've got a van life park. Everybody's got a van. We got 150 people living in there. we can all know each other as individuals. We can have an interconnected personal relationship with every single person in it, all 150. I know Brian, I know Justin, I know Bob. When we get to 400, not even a big town, but at 400, I don't know everybody. Maybe I recognize that guy, but I don't know him. Now we need name tags because we don't know everybody interpersonally, and it complicates our social dynamics because previously, 150 or lower, we can hash out everything in one big meeting.
Right.
We can talk about if somebody's slacking off, we can confront that person. If they're causing disruptive problems, we all can just go talk to that person as an individual.
And also, reputationally, in a village of 150 people, you know who's the reliable cobbler and who's kind of sketch, but will turn it in, cheaper than the other guy.
You don't, as a result, you don't need to have really institutions or intermediaries. We don't need to have a judge.
You can be totally egalitarian.
Because we can just interact, and maybe we just get a group of people over to shame you. But at 2000, well, now we need to have a manager. We need to have somebody that's in charge of operations for our garden and our little commune.
And the moment you have a subgroup, then it becomes its own tribe, so to speak.
Now you've got, there are multiple problems that are now happening. One, we need to have intermediary leaders, judges, generals, things like that can coordinate masses, right? So we've now got a hierarchy. A hierarchy must result as we come up out of Dunbar's number. There are also now weaker connective links between people and the various bodies. So previously, I know you as Brian, as an individual. You're not a concept, you're a person. Now I've got different tribes because we've got a large enough number that we all live in the same city, but we're both firemen. And we've now got different tribal identities that are there. They're all a little bit weaker because we're also kind of leveling up in terms of the species. We've developed a hack as a species, an evolutionary hack, which is that we've come up with something called artificial kinship networks. Very easy one is that you and I both worship the hawk god. We both worship the hawk god, so even though we've never met each other and we're not related, kind of we're kinsmen, because are we not both sons of the hawk?
So this gets to, is it Noah Yuval Harari's Sapiens?
Yes.
Where essentially I'd never thought of religion as a military technology until that book, where it's just like, if there's one species that is able to symbolically have religion, and instantly you can meet a stranger, exchange a few words, and then align against Neanderthals.
We can, and yes, I think so. Some things are strong, some things are weak, right? So like interpersonal connections that we've got in Dunbar's number, that's very strong because I personally know you. We both worship the hawk. We're both Capricorns. These are they work, but they're weak. They're not as strong.
Right.
And then the weakest one is, as pointed out in Jason Pargin's article, I know you personally. If your dog dies, that I'm sad for you. I know the pain you're experiencing. If a mudslide happens in Gomorrah County and 10,000 people die, doesn't really emotionally bother me. Now, I consciously know that's a bad thing, but I don't emotionally know it because it's not tapping my human part.
Another way to approach the same problem was they were trying to figure out, folks who were trying to raise money for starving people in Africa, they tested, ABCDE tested a whole bunch of different postcards saying, will you please feed this family? Let's try this family, let's try that. And, let's show the whole tribe, let's show just a family. And eventually the number of people that they figured out was 1. If you showed anyone more than one person, then it became too difficult. It became too big. It became a them, an othering.
Yeah.
But it's like, this is so-and-so. She is hungry.
At some point, everybody else, due to this neurological phenomenon of how we're wired to understand people, when you're beyond my cognitive horizon, everybody else is just an abstraction. They're a background extra in a film I'm not watching.
Right.
Back to Harari. I don't know if he talks about this, but there's some theories that the reason that Homo sapiens displaced Neanderthals might well be that we are better at coming up with group social constructs.
Storytelling.
So it might be that Neanderthals, who had larger brains than us and had speech, had tool making,
had art.
Yep. They might well have been more intelligent than us, but it could have also been that their cognitive horizon was much more stunted to where they could only do whatever their Dunbar's number was, and they did not have that storytelling capacity of we both worship the hawk god, we both follow the elk, we both speak whatever. They may not have had that sense of ability to forge artificial kinship networks, which would have meant they were always just a tiny platoon, whereas we could go, oh no, we were all born in February or whatever the thing is, and
Right.
thus we're all kind of on the same team now. We can form these macro teams that they may not have been able to form.
Man, there's so many different threads to chase. Part of it, I think of Jonathan Haidt's supposition that we are 90% chimp and 10% bees. There are these, whenever we move and sing and in unison, whether it's at church or at a football game or in basic training, that essentially tickles a sense of greater than oneself. And when you perceive yourself as just a small part of a multicellular organism, then it makes sense to leap on that hand grenade. Good one, Andrew and/or Pastor Brian. Last episode, I told you I signed up for strawberry.me. If you missed that, it's career coaching, or coaching in general. It's a human who's qualified, who understands your business, and can hold you accountable as you make progress towards your goal. Since then, I've had my first session, and hoo boy, are they not being paid to waste your time. A few minutes in, I was doing the chit-chat stuff, and I got busted. I got busted because I was making small talk because I didn't want to do the real work, and she totally said, wait, this is feeling like an interview. You're not doing an interview. This is not about me. This is about you. And I was got. Suddenly, I was on task and making progress. It was awesome. If you're somebody like me who loves a little bit of external motivation to make sure you hit your numbers, if you love having somebody to impress and please with how hard you're working for them and yourself, that's what strawberry.me does. Head on over to strawberry.me/rogue and sign up, and when you do, you're gonna pick a goal. You're gonna vaguely talk about the direction you're trying to get into, what kind of industry you're in, and they're gonna find you a match. If you know that there's something inside you that belongs out there in the world, and if you're tired of not making any progress, if you want somebody out there, a real human being who knows their stuff, who can hold you accountable and tell you when they see you doing it and not doing it, head on over to strawberry.me/rogue. Sign up and join me. Go on this journey. Where do you see it the most? The effects of that limit of beyond 150, it's hard to think of these as real people.
I see it, one, in that I think it explains a kind of failure of altruism that we beat ourselves up a lot about. There's the, what do you call it? The drowning lake example or drowning lake syllogism, I don't know, where in theory, if you and I were walking by Lady Bird Lake here in Austin and somebody was drowning, and we can just jump in, but we're gonna ruin your tie. I'm gonna lose my cowboy hat. It's gonna go down the river. I'm gonna be out $60. You'll be out however much your tie costs, $60, right?
Right.
We would do it. We would go save that person.
Yeah, of course.
Turns out there are all these people all over the world that we could save their lives right now if we were to donate $60, and we're not doing it.
Instead, we're buying Xbox games.
Right. And on the one hand, it is a shame. It is sad. It's a problem to be solved. But it is understandable because we're people, we're humans. We're not wired to understand our species as a whole. We're wired to understand our local tribe, and we're trying to connect this parochial sense of identity and parochial sense of belonging to something much larger. And we can do it, but it's a weak kind of spatchcocked, duct-taped workaround to be able to do that. I see that a lot, where that disconnect is there. I also think that this plays into a lot of in-group, out-group dynamics.
Yes.
Where in my group, my little Dunbar's number, whatever that is, and you can start to get political or religious or whatever that is, I see all the nuances of my group. I see that, well, we've got this wing and my wing, and actually there's this other group that they've got crazy ideas. It's amazing. We can even come together to form a group. We're so individual, Brian. We're so unique, all of us. I mean, we are a ragtag coalition. But that other group, the one that we're worried about, they are myrmidons, and they are drilling over the hill right now. They are arm in arm. They have their shit together, and they're going to kill us. So we got to get our shit together because they're going to kill us because they're all the same. And everybody tends to kind of think that way. Mm-hmm. Whoever's on the other team is a bland, monolithic group, and they're dangerous and they're practical in a way that we are not, because we're so unique. How could we compete?
So this is a big part of why you wrote your book, Tribalism is Dumb.
Yeah.
Talk me through the connection between Dunbar's number and you getting the book out, which, by the way, is excellent and everyone should buy.
It's a good book. Buy Tribalism is Dumb. Yeah, there were a few things. Well, I wanted to, what was really settling with me was 2016, 2017, why'd everybody get mean? I'm a political satirist, so I'm either a not very successful comedian or I'm a very funny journalist and I work in politics. I've always taken it as just a precondition that good and intelligent people can disagree on matters of substance. You and I are arguing about minimum wage or whatever. You think that we need to raise the minimum wage to help poor people. I'm afraid we're gonna increase unemployment. we're both arguing from good faith to help people. There are bad actors, but I think most people are actually pretty good faith actors, and that's fine. We need to have those conversations. Stuff just changed in 2016, 2017. A lot of it was Trump, but I think he's symptomatic rather than the catalyst.
A lagging indicator instead of a leading one.
And I wanted to figure out, well, what happened? And one of the things that I kind of stumbled into, I really got into looking at how we developed as a species. Dunbar's number fascinated me. One of the other things that I started looking into was, it began in comedy, it ended up in evolution. That the comedy bit is, everybody in comedy knows, everybody relates to death and sex. We have fear of mortality. It manifests as jokes about aging, jokes about dying. I'm now in my 40s, so I have to do prostate exam jokes. I noticed very early on that people would get offended by questioning their identity, their group identity, whatever that was. So if I was like, you're wearing an Oklahoma City Thunder jersey, like, are you from there? Yes. Are they from there? They're not from there. They just moved, like, they signed a contract, come live in your city, and like, that's great, but they're not from, and like, people get pissed.
Yeah.
They do not like it when you question in any capacity whatever their group dynamic is, and I found that very odd. That it seemed to me as a comedian to be an equally strong instinct to don't die and to get laid. Equally strong to that is protect the motherfucking tribe.
So now that you've written the book, have you mellowed on that, knowing that it's biological and built in? Because I think when you and I first started hanging out, you were very fired up about it, and then both of us have learned a lot since then, and now I find myself very mellowed about it, like, yep, that's just how humans are built.
I know what's happening now.
Yeah.
So like one of the things I started with that is this is interesting. I didn't realize that this impulse was as strong as it is. Where's this impulse coming from? Why is that there? And what I've figured out is we are in-group cooperative, we are out-group competitive. That's how we're wired. And the reason that I think this, in my research and writing the book, is we've had multiple evolutionary bottlenecks in human history over the last 3 million years, where there have been at least 2 instances where the Homo genus, us and our immediate antecedents, have been an endangered species.
There were a few moments in human history where it's like, roll of the dice, people.
We're nearly out.
Yeah.
There's an 80,000 year period, 80,000 years, where the human population is about that of Bixby, Oklahoma. Wow. And it's in an area of Africa about the size of Rhode Island. And we're endangered. And so under normal circumstances, good circumstances, if the world were always rosy and bright and terrific, and we never had a drought, if my tribe ran into your tribe, terrific. Well, good. We'll exchange beads, we'll sing stories and stuff. And if there happens to be a lot of berries here, or there's really good bison in this area, no bother, you take it, we'll wander over there. During an 80,000 year famine, the groups that are gonna rise to the top are the groups that are proactively looking for a competitor and going, get out of our hunting ground. Not reacting to it, not waiting for the other group to come in, but proactively, like just instinctively. And I think people do this. I think like young men will just instinctively form gangs and they'll want to patrol an area. We've got lots of sociological experiments with this, like the Robbers Cave State Boys, which there's some flaws with it.
I was about to say, yeah.
There's some flaws, but they also seem to preemptively go looking for an enemy team. That's wired into us, and I think that comes from resource scarcity and an evolutionary tool to cope with resource scarcity by preemptively trying to ward off any threats to your resources. So it's not reactive, it's proactive. And that is latent within us. And I do feel a little bit better because I can now see what's happening. It's no longer mystifying. I don't like it anymore, but at least I'm not baffled by it. I can go, okay, I see what's happening. This is a group dynamic coupled with status anxiety. Going back to Dunbar's number, there's, I think, been a real collapse in belonging in groups in modern history, where used to be, in the 60s, 70s, 50s, maybe you were in a garden club and you went to your church and you were in the Elks Lodge and you had all these different groups you were a part of. There are a lot of people who don't have groups anymore. I found a fascinating study by Ryan Streeter. He found that people that self-report to be extremely lonely are 8 times more likely to describe themselves as very political. And I was like...
Sorry, say that again.
Yeah.
People who self-describe as very lonely are 8 times more likely
to be very political. And it's like, yeah, because that's the last man standing. That they don't have a tribe. They don't have a healthy tribe.
Yeah.
And they're finding purpose and they're finding belonging in this fight, in red team and blue team. And it's sad because 1, they're lonely, and 2, this is the dumbest place to find your sense of belonging and purpose. You can be Methodist without having to fight Catholics.
Right.
You can't be a Republican without fighting Democrats, or vice versa.
So what are some things that make sense once you understand Dunbar's number?
That kind of breakdown in long distance and large scale altruism.
Why people in one society have a really hard time understanding
Yes.
the need in another society.
And I think on top of that, why we have all of these different connectors to compensate for it of varying degrees of success. Some things work okay. None of them seem to be as strong.
Can I tell you some of the things that pop into my mind?
Yeah.
Now this is Galaxy Brain, 2 a.m. dorm room Brian talk. You ever notice that in all of branding, whenever everything's the same, you get 3 to 5 choices. There's always the popular one, the cool one, the spicy one, and a couple of more. In sodas, the popular one, you got Coke. The cool one, allegedly, is Pepsi, right? One's older than grandpa, the other's the choice of a new generation. Then you got a spicy one, something like, is it even a cola with Dr. Pepper, or 7-Up, the Uncola, and then beyond that, you have a couple more, your RC colas or whatever. Same thing with your rental car companies. You got Hertz, the popular one, Avis, we try harder, we're the cool one, and then you've got a couple more that are specialty and spicy. If you think about Dunbar's number, if you think about 150 humans in a tribe, there's only one decision that is the most important decision you will make in your entire cell's life, and that is, who do I want to mate with? And in that 150 people, at that coming of age of around 14 to 17, you will have 3 to 5 choices. There will be a popular one, a cool one, a spicy one, and a couple more. That can't be a coincidence.
So you're thinking maybe like that archetypical model in branding goes so deep down that is in fact like the mating level branding that always existed for people.
Yes, they don't make sense if each human is their own person, but they do make sense when you think of us as individual pieces of 150 cells.
I think you're absolutely right about it. Like thinking about this then, because no one's trying to replicate the 150 unit, right? We're forming these macro tribes, we're forming nation states, we're forming parties and things. Does this mean that everything's just going to get disjointed because we're all going to go to the thing like us and then just be out of whack?
I think that we're going to build more systems around Dunbar's number now that we know it exists. So Dunbar's number is why we have tribalism. Is there any way you would write a sequel? Tribalism is great.
I do not plan to write another substantive book. Tribalism is Dumb took me about 7 years off and on, and it is a proper book, and I made it funny. So we're discussing this. I promise it's actually entertaining and funny.
And the audiobook is very good. Wallace shows up once.
Oh, does he?
Yes.
Oh, no,
I loved it.
I didn't realize that.
It.
I wrote that because it was a missional thing. I wanted to help make sense of why the world went partisan and toxic and mad for people in hopes of making the world a little better, so I'm glad that I did it.
It was psychically exhausting for you.
Yes, and it was fascinating, and I was able to incorporate a lot of it into my show. What I would do, and what I kind of want to do, Brian, is I do think that there is a major deficit right now for people being able to form communities. I think that there's a lot of people that are very disconnected and alienated. So I would be interested in maybe writing a book that would be a lot shorter, that would just be practical stuff on this is how you make community, this is how you find community, how to find healthy tribe would be a good tiny sliver to follow it of, because that is part of the problem is it's not that tribalism is bad, it's that negative tribalism is bad, that partisanship is bad.
Well, and that's one of the things is tribalism can and does get harnessed for pro-social reasons.
Good tribe, where we belong in a thing.
Unlike those shitty other tribes.
Exactly. No, that's good, and I think a lot of the bad tribe comes from that lack of good tribe. So maybe I'll do that.
Well, so where do you like to point people? Because you're very funny on Reason.
Thank you.
You're very thoughtful on the political orphanage.
I'm gonna.
You have great guests on alienating the audience.
I'm gonna primarily point people to the political orphanage. That's the main thing I do. It is a podcast for people that are tired of red team versus blue team cosmic slap fight stuff. If you are a person who either doesn't feel like you belong in our current political system, or you do, but you are baffled that other people can't handle having friends they disagree with, you have a home in the political orphanage.
Dude, this is fantastic.
Fun to hang out with you, Brian.
Yeah, good to see you.
This episode is sponsored in part by viewers like you over at patreon.com/modernrogue, where if you want, You can get your name in the credits, just like all of these lovely folks right now.
Yes, it is starting to rain all over me, but I don't let those things worry me anymore.
Love the dramatic lightning flash across your face.
I don't want to say I'm about to have a revelation, but oh, jeez, the heavens have opened. I can't do this in the rain. Bye.